Okay, you are ready.
Okay, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. This is the Condition on Police Practices Rules Committee. Ms. Connie, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Okay, committee chair, Bonnie Benitez.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Byer.
Here.
Thank you. Chair Case.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Rocha Vasquez is not here yet. And Commissioner Lawton.
Here.
Thank you. That concludes roll call.
And thank you. Do we have any non-agenda public comment?
We have no one in person and no virtual participants.
Okay.
Yeah, so that concludes public comment.
Thank you. Okay, so you all received the, I'm having a hard time downloading. Does anybody have the agenda in front of them, because I can't see it?
I can pull it up on the screen here.
Yeah, that'd be great, thank you. Okay. Great. And does everybody have the minutes from the February 13th meeting?
It was in the attachment. Do you want me to pull those up? I can pull those up. 1 second.
I don't know why I can't pull up the attachments right now, or download them. I'm on my, oh, there we go.
Okay, so here I'll go this way.
So I can see the minutes are essentially.
Right here. Is there a specific part you want me to go to?
Just the new business.
Okay. Do you want me to share a screen on Zoom as well? Or right now I just have it up for you guys?
No, up for us, I think it's fine.
Okay.
And so, is everybody looking at the minutes? Have you either looked at the minutes or are you looking at the minutes? And I just need a motion to approve the minutes. But this will be a helpful little.
I move to approve. I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Done with us? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so, just to, bring Dan up to speed very quickly with the sort of larger issues. There was a public safety committee meeting, at which, a number of us, appeared to provide, public comment, and, there are concerns on the part of the public safety committee about a few things. We're not addressing all of them today because some of them are not going to be addressed here. One was the size of the commission. One was the roles of the chair versus the executive future executive director, the evaluation of the executive director, and termination of the executive director. And these concerns came out of the letters from Dwayne Bennett and Paul Parker. So a number of us provided feedback to the committee, and in essence, on the size, I think pretty much everybody, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, said, please don't change the size of the commission now. We are not even fully up and running yet. There were a few other issues about our operating procedures and getting the operating procedures to the committee, which is not something that this committee can deal with. We have the ad hoc personnel committee working on the evaluation of the executive director right now, and this committee is looking at our bylaws with the purpose of better delineating the role of the chair and the role of the executive director. Yeah, amongst other things, but that, I mean, there are a lot of things that we've talked about over time about making changes to the bylaws, perhaps doing away with the cabinet, only having executive committee so that there's a larger body that is really kind of involved. in order to try to head off some of the problems that happened in the last half of 2024. So everybody, I think, is on the same page that we want to do what we can to make sure that we're going to move forward with the current or future chair and setting up a good relationship with the executive director and doing our best to to define roles and responsibilities, et cetera. We've received feedback from the city council from the city attorney through our attorney, that one of the things that was suggested is that perhaps the executive director should have more job safety, but all city employees at that level are at will, and the executive director will be at will. That's not really a question anymore. I think that was kind of a rabbit hole that we looked at. So anyway, I want to focus on the bylaws though, and Ms. Condi, if you can bring them up.
One second. Sure.
And actually, can you bring up the one that has the edits from the November meeting that's in the Google Drive? The one that I asked you if you could see it, it's in the Google Drive.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought that's one, not,
Yeah, that
Okay.
one, yeah. So last week, maybe it was this week, I don't remember, I went through the video of our November meeting where we had started at the very beginning of the bylaws, kind of going through and making suggestions. It was kind of our first go around. We got about 2/3 of the way through the bylaws with some suggested changes. At that time, they were really tweaks. And so I think that it might be helpful to have, there's just notations in there, it's an edit version. And that is from the November meeting that we had with Paul Parker. And we did not have access to this particular version,
this one?
yep, at our February 13th meeting.
One thing is,
Oh, printer? The
Sorry?
printer is down.
Say again?
The printer's down. Was he printing?
I don't know.
Let me check.
He didn't say.
Is there a specific spot you want me to go to?
I think that we should go to, keep going, under thing, article. We can address some of these other things later. This is going to be an ongoing process. Article 4?
The printer is down. Is that where you're going for?
that's it.
The printer?
No, he's being posted.
Okay.
It's the last one.
Article 4?
Yeah. Yeah, let's start there. So, and these edits were, you can see my edits based on the video of the notes that Paul Parker was making during the meeting. And they're, in this section right now, they're kind of minor changes, but can you scroll down to past vacancies to the powers and duties of the chair? Scroll down just a little bit more. No, up, right there, yeah. Okay. So you can see that the language of the chair is, the description of the chair is pretty limited here. And the thing that was added in the November meeting had to do with not just delegating the ability to be a spokesperson to a member of the commission, but also to delegate the responsibility to the executive director. So, these roles are pretty finite.
Let me ask you a question about that.
Yeah.
it says that the chair is the spokesperson and but it can be delegated.
Yes,
Does that mean that if, the media calls the executive director can't respond unless he or she has been delegated the ability to respond?
Correct.
that's the way it is right now. But I have a copy of the job description of the executive director,
Okay.
which, Which-
Communicating.
what's that?
Which includes communicating with the media.
Yeah, it includes, in particular, around the communication issue, represents the commission before a variety of governing bodies. We look at the same thing, I think we are. Yeah, right at the top of page 2.
Hey, Zola.
Oh, hi. Establishes, builds, and maintains effective relationships with a variety of communities in San Diego. So I don't know if you're a spokesperson for the commission when you're doing that, but I don't know how you're gonna build relationships with people in this is very gray. And so I think that, we need to talk about how we're defining this, and so I don't know.
And when that raises another question. So my first question is, can the executive director respond to like routine media calls without having to check, to see whether the chair has delegated responsibility on that particular issue? And then I guess the second issue is, what does spokesperson mean? I thought I knew what it meant until you just raised the question. Does it mean spokesperson to the media, or does it mean spokesperson to speaking to
Various community audiences. I can't answer his question.
Yeah.
I'm not presenting that. So you don't answer his question.
And what
I
I
can answer his question.
I don't have answers to that question, but I think we need to clarify what does it mean to be a spokesperson?
Yeah.
And can,
Or change the language,
or maybe change the language so it's a little bit more flexible and,
like speak on behalf of the commission.
yeah, I like that. And maybe say that both, in the chair section, say you can speak on behalf of the commission or delegate. And on the executive director, you can do the same thing, and which says that both of them have the authority to do that unless you want to restrict what the executive director can say to the media or public groups.
Yeah, so we're original members of this committee.
Yeah.
That's when August of 2023. We've been through a number of executive directors, and we've had periods of time where there is no executive director. So in crafting our bylaws, we have to take into account, we have to still be able to perform in the absence of the executive director. So we need to redraft the powers and duties of the executive director, because they come and go so frequently. We have to have commissioners ready to take on those duties or some way to assign those duties. So relative to listing what the executive director's powers and duties are, we want to keep it broad and vague and limited. And in my response, in my opinion, in response to your question, if an executive director is calling media, then the executive director should contact the executive committee or the chair, or refer that media matter to the executive committee or the chair. Because right now, in the situation, there is no executive director, they call the office.
Sure, if they call the office,
Yeah, office.
good, somebody answers the phone, obviously in the absence of an executive director. So, we're in a really unusual situation, because 5 years from now, in theory, commissioners will come and go. The executive director is typically the person who's there. This is
Yeah.
turned on its head compared to how things should
But we need to be prepared
Of
for
course.
this eventuality. We need to learn from what's gone on in the last 18 months. And
Well, and then we're kind of in a unique
Hang on,
place.
Dan, you had your hand up.
Should we talk about what we want the executive director to be able to do? Because, as a committee, we should decide that first, and then we can, get busy drafting something that fits the bill. I mean, I would be in favor of just speaking for myself only, like, someone calls the executive director, someone from the media and has a question about the commission or something, the executive director shouldn't have to, he should be able to answer and, speak. And if he talks out of school or something, if that can be taken up internally, the commission, I see we have, there's like all determination. But, it just seems, to save a step and make it simple and have an executive director feel comfortable that they don't have to ask permission, or do something formal in order to respond to a request. That's just my opinion. But it seems like, and everybody may not agree with that, and if they don't, that's fine, but it seems like we have to do that first, and then we can talk about what we want the bylaws to say
Sure.
about it.
Yeah. Hi, I know you walked in a few minutes late, just to kind of bring you up to speed. Today, we are focusing on at least the current language in the bylaws and how or whether we're gonna make any changes specifically around the roles of the chair and the executive director in an effort to avoid future problems. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the video of the Public Safety Committee meeting. It was shared. Alina, did you send it out? Yeah, Alina sent it out on Doug's behalf to everybody. So I strongly recommend every commissioner should watch that before next Wednesday's meeting so that you understand what it is that
Can you put that in the email that goes out for Wednesday's meeting?
Yeah. So,
Well, respond, I'm gonna say something different, but I agree with Dan. I think that both the chair and the executive director ought to be authorized to speak on behalf of the commission. And sometimes it may be the preference of the individuals in those roles. Some people like being in front of the camera, some people don't like being in front of the camera. Sometimes it's up to the chair's availability, if they're the volunteer who has a job. And sometimes an executive director will want to have the volunteer pushed into the public eye, but I don't have a problem with the executive director being able to be a spokesperson without being delegated by the chair.
Yeah, I agree with that. We don't want to make it more complicated. We want it smoother. And when I did the research on drafting bylaws, one of the common recommendations was keep it simple and general. Because if we try to make everything specific, we'll have an 80 or 90-page document. So I don't, well, it only comes up when there's a dispute.
Yeah.
Then they agree and go, oh, that's the rule. I've drafted a proposal for executive director duties, and Article 7, Section 1, Subsection A, is interface with community members, respond to inquiries and receive complaints. So that should cover it, where he gets a call, he can respond.
Does that include media? Say it again?
I didn't make it that specific. It just says, interface with community members, respond to inquiries and receive complaints. And as Dan, I agree with that, if someone acts out of turn, then we react accordingly.
Sure.
So we keep it broad and non-specific.
So,
But Doug's question was, how do we, does delegate mean that the executive director has to have permission, if there's an inquiry, or
Sure.
does, or,
and I don't think we should be using that language.
well, I'm just.
Yeah, sure. No, but the way, if we look at what we have right now, you're right, it's ambiguous. And that is, Gonzalo, I'm not sure if you were in the room when we were talking about when Doug asked this question, which is, what line is it? Of course, I can't see.
That's the chair.
5. This is under the chair. So number 5, to act as a spokesperson, this is the chair, to act as a spokesperson. And then you remember, because you were at the November meeting, when we talked about, at Gloria's request, to add that not only can the chair delegate that to a member of the commission, but also the executive director. But I think what we're saying is that perhaps spokesperson is not the best language. Delegate is not the best word. I could understand, I like speak on behalf of the commission. like make official statements or,
Can I ask you that, is that a good question?
yeah,
Maybe take off delegating, because, so I think this was intended maybe to address commissioners, only the chair is the only commissioner who can speak on behalf of the commission.
Mhm.
It doesn't preclude, it stands on its own, the executive director also being a spokesperson.
mhm.
And so if we can make it clearer, that, the,
So if we ignore the executive director in this section, we could say to act, to speak on behalf of the commission or to delegate this responsibility to another commissioner.
Right.
And then separately, in the definition of where we define executive director, we could use either Alex language or something similar to it, but they should match, right?
Yeah.
But you're right, I mean, here we're addressing the officers and the chair. And it was Gloria's suggestion that we add it here, because it's the only place that is currently mentioned in the bylaws, the spokesperson language. So,
but I like the second, the new alternative better, because then you don't have to have the chair delegate to the executive director each time. They both are independently authorized to be a spokesperson. And so what we want to avoid is having individual commissioners going out there speaking on behalf of the commission without the authority to do so. And we also want we don't want individual staff members going out there speaking on behalf of the commission unless the executive director has,
Yeah.
authorized it to do so.
Alec,
I think we're mixing up a bunch of different issues, we're mixing up executive director responsibilities and duties with chair responsibilities and then spokesperson responsibilities and duties. We need to focus, are we talking about the chair's responsibilities and duties now?
yes?
Okay. Well, the chair, we're gonna revamp that somehow, there should be discussion of revamping that quite a bit as well. Well, if we're gonna revamp the cabinet format and the executive committee format,
Mhm.
then this needs to change also, but I think we need to establish what format we're in before we move on to the specific duties of the officers, because the officers may change.
Correct. No, I understand, but I think right now, I think it's okay to focus on what powers are given to the chair.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of other things and they're interrelated, but what powers are given to the chair? So maybe we can just look at this one by one for the moment, right? To serve as chair for the meeting, close and open of the commission, that makes sense. To serve as chair for meetings of the executive committee. And, but, so as an aside, there's been discussion about doing away with the cabinet entirely and having a slightly larger executive committee, okay? And then that's a whole other ball of wax.
Right.
But as it stands right now, because we're trying to make clear, what does this person do and what does this person do and where do they interact? That's what I think we need to focus on, right?
So, this language here in maroon, or the executive director, et cetera, that part right there, that's a proposed change?
That was a proposed change at the November meeting and it was
Okay.
proposed by Gloria.
Okay, so if we just did that, then, you would tell the executive director, you can respond, you know, you can talk publicly on behalf of the commission, you probably would do that, I'm guessing, I'm channeling you a little bit. And then when you go off, I'm guessing the new chair would probably do the same thing, cause that's gonna be a person that, you know, is gonna work well with the chair.
But that's a question,
And then separately, in the duties of the executive director,
yeah.
I don't know if that's in the purview of this meeting or not, it could or should say what that person can do. Can they be a spokesperson or not? And then if it says that, problem solved.
Yeah, I think there should be a spokesperson, which means that they don't have to be delegated.
Right, so that language would be
They can just do
unnecessary
it.
here.
Exactly,
And their job duties can say that, and we don't need to talk about delegating.
yes, exactly.
So with regard to section 5, can we agree, just focusing on the chair? Because here's the problem, Dan, is I don't know that we can assume that a chair after Doug
No.
We're
Right.
delegating,
No, we
so,
can't,
so
because
do
we
we
don't know
want
that.
that right? So that's a problem.
Well, if we just take it out, if we just take out all the business after the comma, after the word commission, and then the executive director's job duties specify that he has the power to, act as a spokesperson for the commission, then there's no ambiguity. They can both speak. That's probably the way it should be, you know, because of what you said, the chair may not always be available, the exec director may not always be available, and these media people, they always want you to get back to them the same day.
Exactly.
So how do we feel about section 5 saying to speak on behalf of the commission or to delegate this responsibility to another commissioner, period?
I like that.
I would keep that, I would delete, to
Yeah.
act as a spokesperson, I would delete.
Yeah.
I would delete the corporate part.
Yes.
Amen.
So it would only say, you get this, Alina?
Mhm.
You got all this?
Yes.
Well, this is recorded, so to speak on behalf of the commission,
Make
Or-
statements.
or when you are speaking, to me, that's the same thing. To speak on behalf of the commission or to delegate this responsibility to another commissioner, period.
I think there's a difference
Okay.
between making official statements and speaking on behalf of.
Okay, go on.
Because if we as a commission decide to issue a statement, the chair signs it, it's over the chair's signature. But if the media calls Dan to talk about something you're allowed to talk about, well, you can speak to it, but you're not making an official statement. You see the distinction between something.
I don't think
said
Dan
on
can
behalf-
speak on behalf of the commission.
Well,
No.
that's something to be discussed.
Okay.
But yeah, you can.
Well, I don't know.
If the media calls you and asks you a question that you can respond to without violating the rules of confidentiality and doing everything properly, then there should be no.
No,
No.
no, no,
Oh, yeah.
No,
no.
I would say I can't do it, but,
Okay, well, this is-
but I'm a neophyte there, so.
One of the problems we had with the chair format on the Fire Academy was the restrictions on the commissioners. Commissioners need to be able to speak as long as they comply with all the rules of ethics, all the statutes, all the confidentiality requirements. The commissioners are appointed by the city council to represent the people. They should be able to speak if asked.
I disagree.
Well, and if delegated, but before they do so, you can't have 25 different voices speaking for the commission.
Well, more, we never had 25. Number
But-
two, the problem hasn't occurred in 18 months.
Yeah, but it could, and you could have road commissioners who are out there speaking on behalf of the commission who don't adequately represent the,
Well, it wouldn't be an official statement. And if it were the commissioner or the executive director, anybody, that commissioner or the executive director would be held accountable if they violate the rule or law or ethics.
But what would they be violating? Just,
Hopefully nothing. But if a commissioner were to speak, will develop the rules of confidentiality, to give an officer's name or describe the case in a way that people can recognize it, that would be violating it. But if
I
it's
think
a general question, how do you guys think you're doing? Well, you know, we could use some more support in this, we're down some staff, we would help if you got that. That's not breaking any rules, not hurting anything. Our commissioners need to be able to have a voice.
And I think, if I were a journalist, and I'm talking to a commissioner, one of my first questions is gonna be, do you speak for the commission? You know, do you have authority, or are you just speaking in your personal capacity? And the answer to that is gonna be, well, I don't have the power to speak for the commission, but I've got some views about how this is all going. Okay, tell me your view. I think the commission is doing great, I think it has a bright future, we've got these trained investigators on board now, you know, things like that, where's the harm?
Which is exactly what we do when we go to city council.
Yeah.
You know, if we're not presenting, we're supposed to say, hey, I'm just here I'm a commissioner, I'm just here giving my
so
personal
then
opinion.
maybe Alec has a point, we ought to use the official statements, language. And then it's, and this is not just relative to the media. So for example, going out and speaking to a community group. If, and I think we want to have more of that, and So when you're going out to speak to a community group, unless you're the chair, you're gonna be asking questions. You're even making statements about the commission and answering questions about the commission, and I don't think you need a specific delegation every time you wanna do that, so I don't know how you word that.
Well, just what we said before, we take out the first clause and we take out the, purple part.
So it would say, to speak on behalf of the commission?
To make official statements for the commission, this is the chair's responsibility.
Yep.
The chair's form to make official statements for the commission or to delegate this responsibility to another commissioner.
But then you
So
said,
if
Yeah, then I
the chair is
agree.
gone,
Okay,
then we can have, we'll scrub who's next in line to make the official statement.
I like that.
but
So
then
you-
he's not
so-
the spokesperson anymore, and don't we want the chair to be the spokesperson? Or a spokesperson?
Do we need to write it in there?
Probably not.
Have you found similar language in other bylaws? Because I gotta tell you, I have never known a body that allows any member of the body to speak on behalf of the body.
Yeah, the ones I've read do not even address it. They
Then
don't-
it's in
it
policy.
says say yes, then say no, doesn't address it.
Like as a part of training for boards, you're told you may not speak on behalf of the body. You can speak as an individual, but not on behalf of, that's where I think we're getting,
Well, I think
I'm
it's better-
unclear where we're at.
Alec is saying with the official statement language.
Yes.
Yeah, official statement only.
But then you're leaving it up to the other person to figure out what that is. The problem is, as a commissioner, every time you open your mouth, you're like, oh, he's a commissioner, he's speaking on behalf of the commission. But I can think of commissioners we have had in the past that never in a million years would I want them to be speaking publicly with the perception, right, that they're speaking on behalf of the commission.
Well, in response to that, on the outreach committee, we're working on presentations and we're preparing a cheat sheet for
Mhm.
all commissioners, when they're in public. First thing they say,
Big number that.
if we go to the commission, I cannot talk about it, the cheat sheet, to let people know right off the bat. So I'm not making official statements, or that kind of thing.
And
Yeah.
if someone doesn't get that, then that's maybe their problem, the audience.
Okay, so
So-
if you were to accept Alec's language, does that resolve the issues we're trying to address? Both in terms of the media, but just in speaking to
So are
other
we
public
leaving
bodies
spokesperson
or
in there?
community groups?
No,
We're not.
the first clause comes out. And it just.
To
it's
make
just-
official statements for the commission or to delegate this responsibility to another commissioner.
That's the chair's part.
But then who's the
Official
spokesperson? Who's the spokesperson?
Well, then, if that is.
We're not identifying.
We need to discuss it.
But don't we want the chair to be able to speak on
She
behalf?
Well, is there anything wrong with leaving that first part in?
Well, I like your objection to the spokesperson.
Right.
I don't think it's necessary. Like, you guys think it's necessary to have a spokesperson in there?
We can
I
define,
don't know
you
if
can use her language and your language to define the two. So sir, just, I forget exactly how you define spokes.
Go ahead and take the comma out
To act as a spokesperson for the commission,
to make official statements.
to make
Or
official
making
statements.
official statements. as-
Or
as-
make official statements for the
as
commission.
official statements. See, that makes it clumsy. If you just say, powers and duties include making official statements for the commission or to delegate that responsibility. It's nice and clean and neat,
As the spokesperson,
nice and general.
so I would say for
Bonnie, what's your concern?
the, make official statements.
If we have a cheat sheet or a policy that everybody has to agree to,
We already did.
do we?
Yeah, we signed confidentiality agreements.
Not
We're bound-
confidentiality, I'm not talking about confidential information,
Well, for those of us who read the bylaws,
but what
we're
I'm,
bound by what? April rule of ethics and.
Yes,
constitutional laws.
yes.
We're-
so as a commissioner, I can say, this thing is a shit show. No, seriously, this is what I'm worried about.
Yes.
There's bias, or there's this, or that, and I'm not violating confidentiality, I'm not talking about, so you think it's okay for commissioners to do that? With the public, as opposed to within the body?
Both. But of course, we're all responsible for what we say. Gonzalo, what do you think? Are we responsible for what we say, are we?
I guess my main concern is if there are multiple commissioners who might feel a certain way and might go not bad or something, would that be an official statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would be an official statement, okay, so.
Yeah, I mean, like,
City
okay,
council members do that, US representatives do that, senators do that all the time. These are matters of public concern. I don't see the harm, frankly, if commissioners speak, as long as it's understood, they don't speak for the commission. And a responsible journalist would get that out of the way right away, but it's not a responsible journalist, if it's communicative or something.
Mhm.
As Alex said, it needs to be understood by everybody, hey, you just gotta make sure that's why you're not speaking to the commission when you're addressing it, if you're addressing it.
Well, and if you have, again, playing devil's advocate, say you have a commissioner who dissents from the position of the commission,
Yeah.
should they be allowed to, or disallowed from expressing their dissent in public?
Disallowed.
What's the harm in it?
Well, that's why I'm thinking that maybe, and that's not an official statement. And I think part of the issue that Alec was trying to raise is in the past, there was a sense that nobody can talk to the media under any circumstances except for the chair. And that's why I think that your language is clear, that's the official statement, but it doesn't preclude a person from saying, I dissent, I disagree with the,
I mean, courts do it, judges do it, they issue dissenting opinions, committees have minority reports. But I like the idea that the chair they ought to say that the judge would be a spokesperson. Because, and if it's not in there, after having been in there, and we take it out, then is someone gonna argue, okay, you're the chair, you don't have the power to be the spokesperson for the commission, you did before, but they took it out, meaning they don't want you to be the spokesperson, so you don't get to talk.
so you think it's okay to leave it basically the way that it was before the maroon was added, and we'll address the executive director elsewhere,
Amen,
okay?
that's just me.
If that's the compromise, you get rid of purple, keep the
Yeah,
rest.
get rid of the purple, because we addressed it
I
elsewhere.
really don't like that first clause without, if that's the compromise, it gets us off of section 5,
Sure.
not the next thing.
Okay,
Let's do it that way, but,
I guess my only question is, right now as it stands, if we leave a contentious meeting and the media wants to interview me afterwards, I have to say I can't speak. Am I able to provide my own
currently no.
do your disclaimer.
currently no? So do we want it to be where I'm like, I provide my own personal opinion,
You better do the disclaimer.
like, I don't speak on
Right.
behalf of the commission. and
So where are
my-
we gonna address that? This is an honest question,
That's, I'll.
right, because we wanna keep things broad in the bylaws, right, so,
Because I've rewritten the whole bylaws to the ALEC version, and then we're gonna knock that apart and fix it, but I'll conclude that. And it's just rewritten the whole bylaw, I went through the whole bylaw.
How long did it take you to do
2 or 3 days.
that?
But it's my fault, that's, I was on the original bylaw committee, so we made this challenging document, right, so we're redoing it all, but I'm gonna make a note to add language, to change language, please. Is it, really small,
add where?
you just said, oh, that's something after.
well, I think add language that the commissioner is going to make a statement, it's not an official statement.
And we have to, right, so we have to figure out where to do that. Here's where we are.
Okay,
We're gonna leave it the way that it was before we added the executive director.
got
And
it.
we will put the language, and it should mirror this, where we describe the executive director.
Oh, I see, okay.
Is
Yeah,
that right?
yeah, I love that.
Okay.
Great.
But that way we don't have the delegated, and we don't have a rogue chair that doesn't wanna delegate it, and then we have problems. Okay? Okay, so, aside from that, in terms of the definition of the role of the chair, are there other things? So, under 7 at the bottom.
Do we have, go back to,
Sure,
on 6,
yes,
I'm okay with that, do we have mirroring language in the executive directors?
right. Coordinate with the executive director on communication between the commission and the mayor, the city council, and the chief of police.
And
Do we
it-
wanna limit it to that, or say, or other, like, entities?
Such as,
The world.
Is the city council considered subcommittees of the city council? For example,
say it again?
And all political subdivisions thereof.
well, for example, the public safety committee.
They're, you know, they're part of the city council.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you could say, or other city entities.
Sure,
Yeah, but I do wanna make sure that we have mirroring language in the executive director. So that it says that the executive director should coordinate with the chair on communication with the mayor, the San Diego City Council, and the chief of police.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And,
okay. I think we're okay at the top, right? Chairing the meetings, chairing the executive committee meetings. Number 3 kind of got bumped up a line. To serve as a member of the cabinet. Here, the plan eventually, and I don't know how soon this will happen, will be to actually get rid of the cabinet.
Yes. Can I ask a dumb question on that?
Yeah.
What has been the function of the cabinet? What's a good reason to keep the cabinet? What's a good reason to get rid of it? I just don't get real educated at all.
but we do have a provision in the bylaw. That talks about the cabinet, but their duties are really actually very limited. It's to deal with the cabinet shall investigate allegations of impropriety against the commission, against the commissioner, and make recommendations resulting in such investigations to be published. And it's 4(3)D, or provide supervision and consultation with the executive director to ensure the commission fulfills its purpose, mission, duties, powers, and objectives, but that could be something the executive committee does. And so-
Yes.
And so the discussion we had, I think, last month was maybe not having a cabinet as an entity, but say that if there is a issue regarding allegations of impropriety, the officers would handle that without making them its own entity. But to answer your question specifically, in the past, when there has not been a functioning executive committee, the cabinet has taken on that role. And so when the CPP restarted, there wasn't a cabinet because the cabinet is the officers and the committee chairs, and there were no committee chairs, and so the cabinet was taking on the role of the executive committee. And then once the committee chairs were appointed, then Paul rightfully pointed out that the cabinet should not be meeting weekly or whatever, because they had very limited duty, and what they were doing is really the purview of the executive committee. So and that was also a problem, by the way, with the CRB a long time ago, when Charmaine, cabinet was kind of doing the same thing there, and Charmaine said bylaws say the executive committee should be doing that, and she set up a very organized meeting way for the executive committee to meet monthly and so forth.
Right, which is essentially what we're doing now, the week before all of our open meetings, the executive committee is meeting, talking about the things that are going on. So, the executive committee currently, as it's defined, still creates a bit of a problem, because the way that things are currently written, the chair chooses, the chair of the commission, the chair of the cabinet, chooses the chair of the standing committee. So the chair is choosing the executive committee, whereas the cabinet is elected. So what we've been talking about is, rather than having a 3-person cabinet, having a 5-person executive committee, it's less condensed power, if you think about it that way. And all 5 of those people would be elected, as opposed to appointed by the chair. Separately, we could have standing committees that the chair would then appoint. So the idea, or-
Chairs elected.
we can have the chairs elected, or we can have the executive committee choose the chair. There's a
Or
number
we
of
can have the chairs ratified by the commission. Right now, the The chairs and the members are sole discretion of the chair of the body and the
Right,
commission as well.
so there's different things that we can do here. The point though is that if there's impropriety,
Yeah.
the idea is that this 5-member elected body, which is an executive committee, would choose a subset of that executive committee to address impropriety. Yeah, just as an example, because you don't need 5 people. You wanna keep that, as narrow as possible, and you wanna pick the people who are the most independent, so that they can look at it with, clear eyes out.
That issue, who's gonna be on the examining improprieties in these commissioners will resolve itself, because if I'm the one doing the alleged improper things, and like, you're my friend, or you're my friend,
Yeah,
and you're on the executive committee, then you automatically recuse yourself.
Yes.
You'll be down to 3 people, so that one's gonna resolve itself.
Mhm.
So again, that, we're getting really.
we're into the weeds here, but we're trying to explain that we're trying to make changes to bylaws that we know that we're going to make structural changes to later.
Have we ever had any improprieties that needed investigation by executive committee?
Yes.
A lot, so.
No, not a lot, but we've only been around for 18 months.
Yeah.
So for it to even have,
We've had some, but not a whole lot.
So if it was up to you, if you could just write this the way that you want it, wouldn't you rather appoint those 5 people than have them be elected? Because maybe you could get stuff done that you wanted to get
The
done.
committee chairs?
Yeah,
no, you mean the
I
executive,
think in the executive committee.
Yeah, but then they become the point Bonnie's making is that the executive committee is made up of, the elected officers and committee chairs, and actually there's more committee chairs if they're all filled than there are officers, and so the chair has the ability to run the commission, if you will.
yeah,
And so if you want to, and so perhaps,
Why is that bad?
I mean, because it was bad.
because it was bad.
It was bad.
It was very bad.
It's one thing to have the power to pick the
Yeah.
chairs of the standing committees,
Yeah.
perhaps with the approval of the commission, but to also, uh-huh.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to
Okay.
address here.
Okay.
Typically, officers are elected by the body.
Yeah.
I mean, in any body. So,
We have an election for the vice chair.
we did,
That worked pretty well.
so
Yeah.
you're suggesting, elections for the committee chairs?
we had some language in here, hang on, shall be subject to the approval of the commission, see at the bottom in 7,
Yeah.
that's what we talked about last time.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's what I was just suggesting, okay, I forgot we never discussed that, and so.
so what would happen is the chair, let's say Doug came in and he's like, I would like to appoint Alec to be the chair of this, Dan to be the chair of that, Gonzalo to be the chair of that, and I'm seeking the approval of the commission. It wouldn't be an open election, you know what I mean, where people are
Yeah.
throwing their name in, but the commission can then vote over it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Well, and this way, I think
I
most
like that a lot.
organizations I've been involved with do is the chair appoints the committee chairs.
Mhm.
Sometimes, in some organizations, the committee chairs then appoint their own members. But I'm okay with appointing.
Yeah, we can, this is, to me, this is not the biggest issue.
Yeah,
Again, we need to really focus in, knowing we have other changes that we'll make over time, we really wanna focus in on the executive director and the relationship between the executive director and the chair. Alan, do you have anything
I'll
else?
go back to your point,
Okay, so are we done with the chair for the time being? For the moment, as the bylaws stand? Because at Wednesday's meeting, we need to give an update to the commission on what we're trying to do to address potential future conflicts between the chair and the executive director. So this is what we're focused on. The problem is, of course, we know in the larger context, we're gonna do more.
And what we can honestly tell them is that we've been working assiduously on it, we've had a complete rewrite. We're considering all the changes and we're taking into account what you said, council member, so and so, council member so and so, which is true. We listen to them, if we have concerns, we'll respond, we'll work on our part. I think that will satisfy the concerns of council members.
So can you move on to the executive director?
Yeah,
And,
later we will get to the first vice chair and the second, all that other stuff. Go on.
if I could ask a
Not
question, I know that Alec has said that he has rewritten the entire bylaws or
Hopes to.
hopes to. Anyway, but my question is,
That's a working draft.
yeah, I mean, my question is, have you looked at
Can you go to Article 7, please?
Article 7, Section 1,
Section 1.
and A through I, have you looked at those and you have recommended changes to those?
Yes.
And are they in light of the job description?
I did coordinate with the job description, but I think I need to I need to look at it again and coordinate to make sure
Okay.
I'm not missing anything important.
So can you scroll to the point where we're at the executive director is appointed by?
Oh, that's back up there.
I did coordinate with the
Where?
ordinance.
Yeah.
The beginning of the paragraph, so we can see below that.
Do you have the ability to share what you have?
Yeah, but I didn't want to spin it out because it's just a rough draft.
I know, but I'm trying to see what we're, well, my point is
Bigger?
this
Yeah,
probably
can you
is.
go down just a little bit so we don't see the headers, just we don't see the headers. That's right.
Yes, I think this is the most important thing we have to do today is
Yes.
that we look at this, and if Alec has done some work on it, I'd like to hear what.
Yeah.
these
Okay.
are-
She said the copier's not working. Is the copier?
Yeah, it's not working, sorry.
Can you pull it up on your, but I don't, we're not on, we are,
Silas?
we're on Zoom right now?
Yeah, we're on Zoom.
And so Alec can pull it up on his computer and you can make him a co-host and share.
Okay. Let me know if you help.
So in the meantime, let's all look at what we have. And can you go down to where it's A through I? Can we get A through I on the screen? There you go. Great, thanks.
And looking through here, we're just talking about mirroring the language of the chair with regard to communication. I think, we
Yes.
ought to
Yes,
mirror that.
yes. But you know, what's clear here is the way that it's currently written, the executive director is the liaison. The chair coordinates with the executive director.
Right.
But the
That's what-
executive director is the liaison,
Well,
So-
that's what I think we ought to have the language,
mirrored from the
mirror
other
the language
section.
in the other one.
We can't have that,
Okay, go on.
because STPD will then, if I try to communicate with them, they'll say, oh no, we only talk to the executive director.
No, not if we have the language we just talked about,
Well, I just looked at liaison stuff out.
and so,
You can,
so what I would put instead is to coordinate with the chair on
You
communication.
make him
between-
a co-host.
Yeah, are you on Zoom? Not yet? I can send you the
You
link.
need to get on Zoom.
Here, I'm gonna send you the link right now.
Zoom. I don't have a Zoom mic.
You do, it's in the,
I have Microsoft Teams.
you don't have Zoom on your computer? The Zoom link is in the agenda.
So you don't have to have the Zoom on the,
No, I can make you a panelist. If you just open the agenda.
If I open,
The agenda, the first page has a link.
well, see, it's interesting, that this one mentions the city attorney's office,
Mhm.
and the other one doesn't.
it's,
And
Okay.
this thing. Okay. Yes. Oh. I'm not really-
now it's more likely that the executive director is gonna have a direct communication with the city attorney's office as the chair is. But I would still like the idea of mirroring language, so it's say to coordinate with the chair on communication between the commission, the mayor, and the city council.
Okay, can we define coordinate with the chair? Can the chair keep these? I was thinking, like, is it that person's job, or do they need to coordinate? Like, what if the chair says, I don't want you talking to the city? What does coordinate mean? I'm asking as an honest question.
Team, right?
Yeah, I know that, but.
But actually, I think it's, I mean, you don't want the executive director talking to city council members without the chair knowing about that. Doesn't mean that they have to
Any
be,
stuff.
and,
We don't want any commissioners doing that either.
And so,
You know, internet access.
so I guess what that's what coordinate means is that it doesn't mean that, they both have to participate, but if the executive director contacts public safety chair on an issue, the probably should tell the chair they're gonna do that, and then afterwards report back, and I got a hold of Marvin and this is what I found out from that meeting. Or if they send
Asking
an
you to update.
or it could be as simple as a CC in an email.
It could be a CC in an email, it could be, I met with, her chief of staff, Marty's chief of staff. I met with chief of
Sure.
staff and,
Eric's a chief staff, but he's the policy advisor, but,
If we leave it, if we just leave it nice and broad,
yeah,
coordinate, I think by definition, our executive director is gonna be, someone who's in harmony with our chair in the first place. That's maybe part of the reason they got the job. And, the two of them sort out between themselves what coordinate means. And if it gets dysfunctional
that's why you have an executive committee,
for some
or
reason.
more than 2 other people, see what I mean?
Yeah, but if it gets dysfunctional, which I pray it wouldn't, but the executive director will quit or get fired.
But that's, well, right, we
yeah.
just went through this.
Right, and that's terrible, that's terrible. But is there a way to rewrite bylaw? If we had that to do over again, if we had rewritten bylaws before Paul quit, would anything about that have caused Paul to stay on?
Right,
I don't think so.
right.
He was very disgruntled and he had his reasons and I don't, did the bylaws have anything to do with that? Maybe not,
They didn't help.
didn't help, yeah.
That, I know, we can't solve every problem in the bylaws, for sure.
Well, they can try, and if the bylaws public, if the bylaws could have helped facilitate some of the, or mitigate some of what's going on, wouldn't solve the problem, and,
Yeah.
Okay, so,
I mean, when Paul put in his
Make
letter of
efforts, right?
resignation, he didn't say I'm quitting because the bylaws are clear, he said that, these are the reasons I'm quitting.
like full screen, but.
It's
in the
fine.
and then, press that. Does that help? Nope. Okay, can we see this? Is it good enough?
I like that, that's a good addition. And you took out C,
Oh, yeah, let's see.
Liaison.
Oh, that's, we have to do and stuff, right?
but I'm suggesting in this place, we mirror what's in the chair. And then maybe also go back and put city attorney in the,
Or one term, I'll put it in right now. You want to add,
well, it's just a suggestion, my proposal was to mirror the language from, number 6 in the chair.
Right, so it says coordinate with it would say coordinate with the chair on communication between the commission and the mayor, the San Diego City Council, the chief of police, and the city attorney's office.
And
Or
I
other,
would put
Yeah.
what did we say?
not coordinate with the chair, but do you think,
Chair's what is it?
I understand that, but the executive committee only meets once a month. Things are happening, this is their full-time job, you can't have them coordinate with a bunch of
It
people.
becomes too unwieldy, and one of the criticisms of us as a commission by the city council is that we are unwieldy as a commission.
Yeah, so, just restore the language.
No, because that was liaison, I understand what your concern is about liaison, so what we would be saying, what we would be adding here is, it would say, to coordinate with the chair on communication between the commission,
Is that?
Mhm.
Chair.
on communication between the commission and the mayor, comma, the city council, comma, the city attorney's office, or the office of the city attorney, however it's technically, and the chief of police. Don't forget your serial comment.
After the city attorney?
Correct.
No, I think it's, I think it's kind of
Oxford comma?
Oxford comma. Your Oxford comment.
People are deeply divided about that.
Yeah, don't care.
I want it.
I don't know what the word
It
is.
solves problems. The Oxford comma prevents problems. So, and then we're gonna add city attorney to the other section where it's referred to in the chairs, right? So that they essentially say the same thing, but one's referred, right?
Yeah.
Good?
Or you could take out the city attorney both places. The general is gonna be the general counsel who coordinates with the city attorney.
Just don't wanna,
I don't know.
Okay, I'm not wed, okay, so. maybe- So D looks like it's the same, E looks like it's the same, F arranged for the,
Preparation and dissemination. Do we
okay.
need, as required by the Rough and Brown?
I think it's good to have there,
Yeah,
Brevity is our watch.
service custodian, I see, you added service custodian from this, I think, because that's not what it used to say.
and you have more than I, or is? no,
So the other one then that we need to add is the section of the chair that we spent a lot of time on.
Just, so, is it,
So,
after I, there's one more paragraph.
okay,
Check and see if it's, or just repeat it, it's
Yeah, so you didn't add much?
No.
Okay. And you went through the job description to see whether everything in the job description,
I do it, but I wanna do it again, I went to the ordinance and make sure it's mirrored.
so everything that's in the ordinance and the job description is included there, is that?
Well, I've gotta redo, one remind me, I should look at this again and make sure it mirrors. And so I still have to do that, that's on my little to-do list.
So then should we have one that says to,
so, yeah, my question is, the one that we spent a bunch of time on for the chair in terms of the spokesperson language, how does that fit in here?
I have to look at what we, our changes and see how they relate. That's what I have to talk
What we left it with was to act as the spokesperson for the commission, to make official statements for the commission, or to delegate this responsibility to, I don't know if we do this with a member of the staff or we don't, because what if in the same way, if the chair is going to Europe for 2 or 3 weeks, if the executive director is going to Europe for 2 or 3 weeks, can they delegate to the deputy?
Yeah,
yes?
no, it stays with the commission.
But why can't they delegate to the deputy?
Well, number one, we may be losing that position, we might have a deputy, and we've never had one. And now, sort of nice to know we're looking at entirely for budgetary reasons, but why don't we just leave it a member of the executive committee?
Okay, so we're not mirroring the language, is what you're saying. We're not allowing the executive director to delegate that responsibility. I'm asking the
I'm
question.
lost in where you're talking about.
I think we ought to be able to delegate it, you know, she ought to be able to delegate it, just like the chair can. In the hypothetical that was given if they're both away, and maybe the need for, you know, things are moving fast, things are moving fast.
And so you may want to delegate it, even if the executive director is here, you may want to delegate it to the general counsel.
As an example,
Sure,
yes.
Or they may want to, if it's a policy issue and the policy manager has been working on it,
A committee head,
you know,
maybe, or a committee chairman.
well, if they want, I don't think the executive director should delegate it to a commissioner without going through the chair.
Yeah.
But with the staff, and so clearly I think that the executive director, and by the way, it doesn't mean, I like mirroring it there too, because it's, if you just rely on A, for example, that doesn't work over the media. So we cover it, if we mirror the language and say to act as, It's interesting, because it says the spokesperson for the
It
commission.
says say the spokesperson.
Can we just take out the word the?
I could say A,
A,
sure,
Okay, so then,
A spokesperson.
okay, and then maybe take it out in both places, but let's see if you take it out in, the other one, and then might apply other commissioners can be the spokesperson, so, we'll just take out the word the in this case. To act as spokesperson for the commission, to make official statements,
Or, exactly.
I'm looking at, the
it's
chair,
not in there. We're
Chair-
talking about,
the chair number,
but if you have
Right.
the spokesperson, can you have a spokesperson? See, it's, right?
Well,
So we don't take that.
if
You
they're
what?
both, they don't have to be A, they're both be
Yeah, I didn't know the spokesperson.
which is why I'm saying maybe you take out the word altogether, to act as spokesperson for the commission.
I like that.
Oh, I see.
To act as spokesperson for the commission in both cases, and say to act as,
To act as spokesperson for the commission,
No, or, yeah,
to make official
official
statements
statements, or to delegate this responsibility
to
to
another member of the staff.
another member of the staff.
Sure. That accomplishes it.
I think so. So we're on the powers of the chair.
We are mirroring the powers of the chair, because we just talked about doing that, with the powers of the, certain powers, with the executive director.
So we want to add to this,
Add to this,
the equivalent of subsection 5 of the chair
Correct.
duties.
correct.
And we already talked about, and also talked about, doing the same thing with 6.
Oh, I'm sorry. My little group.
With 6,
You know, we're gonna mirror 5 and 6 of the chair into the, executive director. We already talked about 6 a minute ago.
which you already have.
Yeah, and
It's the,
Yeah, we-
it's the
we-
city attorney and.
we were gonna replace C with 6, and then we're going to add 5.
Correct. It's all with us?
Yeah.
Alright.
So the change you wanna make is, you wanna make a change on this, that's on the screen.
Well, I see a typo, because it's underlined there, maintain records and prepare up reports.
okay, hang on,
That's how we say it in minutes.
let's put those changes. Liaison between maintain records, hire and supervise, arrange, attend. This is yours? No, this is,
No.
yeah, what we're looking at on the screen is not his. We're looking at, there we go. See, I was confused.
Switch that right.
Okay, interface with the, I'm gonna, everybody look at that, that's Alex, I'm gonna read what's in the
The
bylaws.
unofficial one,
Yeah, this is the unofficial on the screen, but I'm gonna read the bylaws. Interface with community members, comma, respond to inquiries, comma, and receive complaints. Direct the day-to-day operations of the commission. Liaison between the commission and city departments, in particular SDPD, and the city attorney's office. Now, you changed that to coordinate, you took out liaison altogether.
right, because they're usually against us.
Yeah, well, and maybe take out the word to, since we're trying to use the same, C, and just make coordinate with them.
Oh, I see, take out.
I see.
So we're starting with the verb for all of them.
So you changed liaison to coordinate.
Yeah, that's what we just talked about doing.
So
Okay.
it says liaison with the commission and city departments, in particular SDPD and the city attorney's office.
Yeah, but I think it's okay to have it as we have it there.
Okay, and then maintain records and prepare of reports.
See, it's in the
That's
original,
just
the end of the, it's in the original bylaws.
Prepare of reports, yeah.
It's not my fault.
Yes, well, you're on the committee.
That's true.
That's true, that's true. maintain records and prepare reports, including semi-annual reports to the mayor and city council. Hire and supervise commission staff, independent contractors and consultants, arrange for the preparation of and dissemination of all meeting notices for the CPP and committees. Committee meetings as required by the Ralph M. Brown Act. Attend all CPP meetings and provide staff support for committee meetings. Serve as custodian of the commission's records in compliance with all applicable laws relating to records retention, protection, confidentiality, and disclosure.
Let me ask a hypothetical question about Jake.
We just,
And arrange for
Okay, go ahead.
preparation. One more, arrange for preparation of and dissemination of minutes.
Okay.
Isn't that repetitive? Oh, meeting
preparation
notices, meetings, yeah,
and
got it,
dissemination.
What was your question?
If it says attend all CPP meetings, if the executive director is unavailable,
Yeah.
does that mean that the commission can't meet?
Unless
Be in
all,
attendance at all
I-
meetings.
I would say attend all meetings unless excused. Because,
Don't make it more complicated.
yeah, I can tell you my bylaws actually say that I get to attend all of them unless I'm excused by the chair. For example, if the commission is reviewing the executive director's evaluation, sometimes the executive director's not there. So there are rare instances where they're excused, or they could be given an excuse because they're in Machu Picchu. So I think it should be attend all meetings unless excused.
Because I remember Charmaine making an argument one time that the CRB couldn't meet because she wasn't available. And she was required to be there. I don't think you're required to have
I don't think that's true.
your,
Obviously, we don't have an executive director, we're still meeting. But the assumption is that they will always be there unless they're excused because they're in Machu Picchu or because they've been excused by the chair. And that would only be for a legitimate reason.
yeah, I would add that because it,
It's a,
Okay.
yeah. And we're gonna be able to coordinate
Yes,
what Alec is doing and, okay.
what do you do?
Whatever you guys need me to do. I can make the changes based
She
off of
needs-
what's
she
on the
doesn't
minutes.
You're not making changes right now.
No, no, no.
no, she doesn't have this to make changes.
So you're gonna sit
Yeah,
down to her so she can add it.
Okay, what else can we do?
Well, just saying.
Yeah.
I don't wanna send this to her because, a lot of it is Alex stuff that hasn't been discussed.
Well,
I don't want-
you could copy and paste that section.
Into just a
No,
single
this is
document
section,
or to.
That's fine, I'll send you.
Or I can go based off of the link if it's easier, just because it's gonna pop up as a shared screen on the recording. I can just
Right,
type it
she's
in.
gonna see this when she looks at the recording.
So I don't need to send anybody anything.
It might be nice if you copied and paste, just for convenience, copy and paste, just the section we're working on and send it to her.
Okay, and so did we add we added that, okay. So we changed the language of C and then we added
You know,
the spokesperson language,
yes.
okay.
Do we need to visit the setting of the agenda? Because I know that this happened to have been an issue.
It is interesting.
It's the chair's duty, but it's this, but, for example, Doug has this, tells the staff, this is what I want to be on the agenda, and the staff does it. Gloria did the whole thing herself, is my understanding.
Mhm.
Why I didn't know. But the language we have here, I believe, is just to set the agenda. To set the agenda for all commission and executive committee meetings in consultation with the executive director. Do you have that?
Can we maybe change that to add?
I have, see, my version, set the agenda for all commission and executive committee meetings in collaboration and consultation with the executive committee. Because the problem we had before is, there was no, the chair was not taking, set the agenda, the chair wanted.
You know, and like, I think it should be in consultation with both the executive director and the executive.
I agree.
Easily done.
For the executive committee collaboration. So you like the word also,
I wanna make it clear that it's not,
collaboration and consultation with the executive committee and the executive director.
I like that.
Because, you don't want to do what you have, which is, people couldn't get agenda, items placed on the agenda because the chair was saying, this is it, that's what's in, easy. That underlines this, you, sure, so,
Did you misspell?
no, it's telling me, it's not on, it's usually used in the situation.
Oh, I see.
On
Okay. It's 5:19. We've been at this for almost an hour and a half. Are there other things in the bylaws that anyone can think of that we need to address in this regard?
Do you have an issue with the bylaws in the recent meeting having to do with,
right, they will placing, yeah, but I changed the vacancy discussion. But again, that's a big discussion, how we're going to, first of all, are we gonna get rid of time and have an executive committee? And if so, how do we treat vacancies on that committee? If we have mixed up, that's the rules on vacancies on cabinet.
Yeah, I've been working on this. I've been
And we
working on
also
this
need
too.
to add a section on removal of officers, we have no section on how.
Yeah, we need to do that. Yeah, I have a vacancy, what I was gonna suggest on, just while we're talking about on the vacancies is, if the office of the chair becomes vacant, the first vice chair becomes acting chair until the next open meeting of the commission until an election with nominations taken from the floor can be held.
Well, I have another brilliant, simple way of doing it, except I completely left out having a vice chair.
And then if any other office becomes vacant, an election with nominations taken from the floor will be held at the next open meeting of the commission to fill the office for the remainder of the unexpired term. But the reason that the chair is different is because you need to make sure that someone can step in immediately as the chair, so
Yeah.
it needs to be a little bit different, but ultimately, you're having an election as soon as you can
Yeah.
to,
This
and
one,
we did that, didn't we kind of do that?
we kind of did, except that Doug as second vice chair, because both the first vice chair and the chair left,
yeah,
the language was not specific, but it implied that he would go bump, oh, and then bump, right? So, but they both
Yeah,
left.
but
at
the
same time.
broader, yeah, I mean, that language needs to be cleaned up because it wasn't, there
Yes,
should have been. But the issue that Bonnie is raising is that and different organizations handle this in different ways. Some of them have their first vice president, or many of them call it the executive vice president, whatever it is, the number two person automatically becomes chair until the duration of the term. Others do it, as Bonnie is just suggesting, is that they become acting chair and then there is an election
yeah,
for the chair. And then if the number two becomes, well, in our case, it may become a bit more complex because say you have the first vice chair, becomes acting chair, and then they're elected the chair. Then you have a vacancy for the first vice chair, you don't have the second vice chair moving up.
correct.
And so you'd have to have an election, and so if the second vice chair wanted to become the first vice chair, they'd have to have several elections.
well, that's my proposed, that was my proposed way of handling vacancies. But again, that was for vacancies as opposed to the chair just not being there for the meeting or two.
Yeah, because we're talking about vacancies.
Right, so
Yeah.
this is vacancies. But in reality, the cabinet is gone and now it's executive committee running the show.
Yeah, right. And I'm looking at it under the current structure, but it still would be applicable. But the point is,
Okay, so there are basically two ways. Number one is, forgetting the unusual situation we had of bumping first and second.
yes,
For the first vice chair, does the first vice chair become the chair? Or do they become acting chair until you can have an election and then you have
Yes.
an election?
Right.
That's my proposal.
yeah.
And I don't have a strong feeling either way, but,
Yeah, you just wanna make sure that the necessary vacancy is immediately filled, and that as soon as possible, you're able to have an election.
This seems more democratic,
Yeah,
sure.
oh, for sure.
And it should be at the next regular meeting of, or maybe nominations at the next regular meeting, and then the election at the following meeting.
People have time to follow, check and lobby and,
Do we
talk
want
amongst
that?
themselves.
Well, we did it all in one meeting, I mean, this, we just have, we have so much to do, I don't
Yeah.
know that,
Yeah, we don't want it to be like a papal conclave going on for weeks.
Yeah,
did you see that movie?
Yes,
I did,
I
just
just saw it the other night, it was so good.
I just thought that's.
Conclave, have you seen
I
Conclave?
don't know, but I'm glad that.
It's very good.
Worth the time.
Well, I think that I think my preference would be you would do it at the next regular meeting.
Yes.
You would take nominations at the next regular meeting and have the election at that meeting.
I like that.
So, okay. For now, I'm happy to report on the proposed changes that we've worked on, specifically on these two sections at Wednesday's meeting, saying that the Rules Committee will be coming forward with other changes to the bylaws, but as it pertains to the chair and the executive director, these are the things that we believe will essentially
just
set
be
us up for success.
Sure, are we comfortable that everything in the executive director's job description is in the bylaws?
Can you
I
stop
was,
sharing?
but now I'm gonna,
Can you stop sharing?
I was comfortable, but now, the chair, Felix's suggestion, I'm gonna double check and make sure it's.
That's gonna be critical for Wednesday?
Oh, yeah, the making sure that the language is consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you know, I said this at the executive committee the other night, but I think that it's important to note that, you know, and then a few commissioners knew each other, but generally speaking, when this commission first started, and the three of us were there, our very first meeting in August of 2023, and I didn't know a soul. And did you know anybody?
No.
Yeah, so there
Well, I
was.
knew of Doug and Brandon, but I've never spoken to him.
Right. So we elected a chair without any, you know, time really to get to know each other in any way, to come to know that person, to know, is this the person, and I'm not trying to fault Gloria, I think, look, everybody does the best that they can with what they've got. But, you know, we're volunteers and she's like, I'll do this, and we were like, you know, good for you, but we didn't have a chance to know each other well enough to know that, you know, I
So
would
we're-
trust Gonzalo to develop a good
Are we done?
relationship with the executive director, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
We can
Okay.
be done.
Thank you.
Yes, motion to adjourn,
Second.
Okay.
so, it's just something to be mindful of.
I was just gonna say that I was the one who
I
encouraged